The crystal chandeliers of the Meridian Hotel cast fractured rainbows across marble floors that gleamed like ice. Celeste Rivera adjusted her black server uniform for the 10th time, her fingers trembling as she balanced the silver tray of champagne flutes. The weight of every diamond in the room pressed against her chest, reminding her she didn't belong. Her midnight blue dress hung in the staff locker, handmade from discount fabric remnants over 3 weeks of late nights. She'd planned to wear it to feel beautiful for once. But Naina's warning echoed in her mind, just smile and stay invisible. The money would cover 2 weeks of rent. Her mother's cancer treatments were draining her dry. Oh my goodness, look at this little waitress playing dress-up. The voice sliced through the classical music like broken glass. Victoria Sterling materialized from the crowd, platinum hair twisted into an elaborate crown, red designer gown flowing like blood. Her entourage followed, perfectly polished predators in heels. Celeste's stomach dropped. She kept her professional smile locked in place. "Good evening, ladies. Champagne?" Victoria circled her slowly, green eyes glittering with malicious delight. "Girls, come look at this adorable little thing. She's made herself a dress." Celeste realized with horror that she'd changed into her handmade creation after all, desperate for one night of beauty. The midnight blue silk clung to her curves, simple and elegant, hiding its humble origins. "How quaint," Victoria cooed. "Did you use your grandmother's curtains, dear?" Laughter erupted around them. Conversations died. Eyes turned. The ballroom became a coliseum. "I made it myself," Celeste said quietly, lifting her chin despite the heat flooding her cheeks. "How precious." Victoria pretended to stumble, deliberately slamming into Celeste's tray. Red wine exploded across the midnight blue silk, spreading like a wound across her chest. "Oops, I'm so clumsy. I hope that wasn't your only dress." The laughter grew louder, sharper, cutting deeper. Celeste clutched the empty tray to her chest, wine dripping onto marble. Tears burned behind her eyes. She needed to run, to disappear, to never exist in this moment. Then the entire ballroom fell silent. Sebastian Cross had arrived. Even Celeste, who avoided celebrity gossip, knew his name. The tech billionaire who dominated headlines. Impossibly tall with dark wavy hair and steel-gray eyes that saw everything. His black tuxedo was tailored perfection, but it wasn't his appearance that commanded the room. It was his presence, a force of nature. People stepped aside instinctively as he moved through the crowd. His eyes swept the scene. Victoria's triumphant smirk, the wine-stained dress, Celeste's mortified face. Without hesitation, Sebastian reached into his jacket and pulled out a pristine white handkerchief. He approached Celeste directly, footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. "Use this," he said, his voice deep and commanding as he placed the silk in her trembling hands. Then he did something that made the entire ballroom gasp. Sebastian Cross slipped his arm around Celeste's waist and pulled her against his side. She could feel the warmth of his body through his tuxedo, smell expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely masculine. "Everyone," Sebastian's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. "I'd like you to meet my wife." The world stopped spinning. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. Victoria's face went white, then red, then white again. "Your wife?" Victoria's voice cracked. "Sebastian, what are you talking about? We were supposed to announce our engagement tonight." Sebastian's gray eyes fixed on Victoria with cold indifference. "Were we? I must have forgotten. I've been rather distracted by my beautiful bride." Celeste finally found her voice, barely a whisper. "What are you doing?" Sebastian leaned down, breath warm against her ear. "Saving you. Play along." The crowd erupted. Phones appeared, capturing the moment that would be splashed across social media within minutes. Celeste Rivera, unknown art teacher, was suddenly the most talked about woman in New York. Sebastian's mother pushed through the crowd, silver hair perfectly coiffed, blue eyes sharp as winter. "Sebastian, darling, surely you're joking. This girl is a waitress." "She's an artist," Sebastian corrected, voice carrying a warning. "And she's my wife. I expect you all to treat her with the respect she deserves." Victoria stepped forward, composure cracking. "This is ridiculous. You can't seriously expect anyone to believe you married this nobody without telling anyone." "Watch your tongue, Victoria." Sebastian's voice dropped to a dangerous level. "You're speaking about my wife." He guided Celeste toward the exit, hand never leaving her waist. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, whispers following in their wake. Once they reached a quiet corridor lined with expensive artwork, Celeste finally pulled away from his embrace. "Are you insane?" she hissed, voice shaking. "You just told everyone I'm your wife. I don't even know you." Sebastian studied her face, gray eyes unreadable. "You were drowning in there. They would have torn you apart for sport. So you lied to save me. Do you have any idea what you've just done? The media will go crazy. People will want to know everything about me. I know exactly what I've done." Sebastian pulled out his phone. Already the screen was lighting up with notifications. "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Celeste stared at him, wine still staining her dress, hair disheveled from chaos. "I'm going home and pretending this never happened." "That's not an option anymore." He showed her his phone. Headlines were already forming. Sebastian Cross's secret wife revealed. Billionaire's mystery bride. From waitress to wife. The Cinderella story. "This is a nightmare," she whispered. Sebastian pocketed his phone and looked at her seriously. "It doesn't have to be. I have a proposition for you." Celeste laughed bitterly, the sound echoing off marble walls. "You've already ruined my life. What more could you possibly want? I want you to be my wife. Temporarily. For real this time." Her mouth fell open. "You're completely insane." Sebastian's expression remained calm, calculated. "My mother and the board of directors have been pressuring me to marry Victoria Sterling. It would merge our companies and make both families incredibly wealthy. But I can't stand the woman, and after tonight I suspect the feeling is mutual. So you want to use me to get out of an arranged marriage? I want to offer you a mutually beneficial arrangement." Sebastian's voice was matter of fact. "You need money for your mother's medical bills. Don't look surprised. I had you investigated the moment I decided to help you." Celeste's blood ran cold. "You what?" "Elena Rivera, age 52, stage 3 breast cancer. You've been working 3 jobs to pay for her treatments. You've applied for grants to open a community art center 17 times and been rejected each time due to lack of funding." She felt exposed, violated. This stranger knew her deepest struggles and dreams. "How dare you?" "I need a wife who won't try to control my life or steal my fortune," Sebastian continued, ignoring her anger. "You need money. It's simple economics. People don't just get married for business arrangements anymore. They do in my world." His voice turned grim. "The difference is I'm offering you a choice. Marry me for 1 year. Help me convince my family and the board that I'm settled and responsible. In return, I'll pay all your mother's medical expenses and give you enough money to open that art studio you've been dreaming about." Celeste's mind raced. Her mother's face flashed before her eyes, growing thinner and weaker with each passing day. The children at the community center who had so little joy in their lives. How an art studio could give them hope and purpose. 1 year? She asked quietly. 12 months. We'll live together, appear at social functions, convince everyone our marriage is real. After that, we'll have a quiet divorce, and you'll never have to see me again." She looked down at her wine-stained dress, then back at his serious face. "And you'll pay for everything? My mother's treatment, the studio, everything? Consider it an investment in maintaining my independence." The corridor was quiet, except for distant gala music. Celeste knew her life had already changed irreversibly the moment Sebastian claimed her as his wife. She could either run from it or turn it to her advantage. "What about love?" she asked suddenly. "What if one of us falls in love?" For the first time, something flickered in Sebastian's gray eyes. Something almost like pain. "That won't happen. I don't do love. Neither should you. Everyone's capable of love." "Not everyone." His jaw tightened. "My father taught me that lesson very well before he died." The raw edge in his voice stopped her next question. Whatever wound Sebastian carried ran deep. "I need to think about this," Celeste said. "You have until morning." Sebastian pulled out a business card and pressed it into her hand. "My driver will take you home. Call me with your answer." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. If you agree, there are rules. We maintain separate bedrooms, no emotional attachments, and absolutely no falling in love. This is a business transaction, nothing more. And if I say no? Sebastian's expression hardened. Then you go home to your one-bedroom apartment, continue working yourself to death, and watch your mother's condition worsen because you can't afford the best treatment. The words hit like physical blows. That's cruel. That's reality. He walked away, leaving her alone in the corridor. Celeste stood there for a long moment, wine still drying sticky on her dress, his business card burning in her hand. Through the ballroom doors, she could hear the gala continuing, Victoria's sharp laughter cutting through the music. She thought of her mother. She thought of the children. She thought of her own dreams, always just out of reach. She thought of Sebastian's steel gray eyes and the pain hiding behind them. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nina. OMG, are you okay? It's all over Twitter. Celeste looked at Sebastian's business card, made her decision. The next morning, she stood outside Cross Technologies headquarters, a glass and steel tower that pierced the Manhattan skyline. Her hands shook as she entered the lobby, showed the receptionist Sebastian's card. Mr. Cross is expecting you. 75th floor. The elevator ride felt like ascending into another world. The doors opened onto an executive suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Sebastian stood at the window, hands in his pockets, silhouetted against the morning light. I'll do it, Celeste said. He turned slowly. You're sure? No, but I'm desperate. And apparently, so are you. Sebastian crossed to his desk, pulled out a thick document. The prenuptial agreement. My lawyers drew it up last night. Read it carefully before you sign. Celeste took the papers with numb fingers. The terms were exactly as he'd described. 1-year marriage. All medical expenses covered. $2 million for the art studio upon divorce. Separate bedrooms. No emotional involvement. At the bottom, a clause made her blood run cold. If either party violates the terms of this agreement, particularly the no emotional attachment clause, the contract is void, and no payment will be rendered. She looked up at Sebastian. You're serious about the no love thing. Deadly serious. His expression was unreadable. Love destroys everything it touches. I won't let it destroy this arrangement. What happened to you? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Sebastian's jaw clenched. Sign the papers, Celeste, or walk away. She thought of her mother one more time. Picked up the pen. Signed her name. Sebastian signed below hers. Just like that, she became Celeste Cross. We're getting married tomorrow, he said. City Hall noon. Wear something appropriate. Tomorrow? That's impossible. I've already arranged everything. My mother is threatening to challenge my position as CEO if I don't prove this marriage is legitimate. We need to make it legal immediately. Celeste felt the walls closing in. This is moving too fast. Sebastian stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne again, see the flecks of blue in his gray eyes. Having second thoughts? About 1,000 of them. Good. His voice dropped lower. So am I, but we're doing this anyway. The next day at City Hall was a blur. No flowers, no music, no guests. Just a bored judge, 2 strangers becoming husband and wife, and a marriage certificate that felt like a prison sentence. When the judge said, "You may kiss the bride," Sebastian hesitated. Then he leaned in and pressed his lips to hers. Brief and businesslike, but Celeste felt electricity shoot through her body, leaving her breathless. Sebastian pulled back, something dark flashing in his eyes. Remember the rules, he said quietly. That night, he brought her to his penthouse, 30 floors above Manhattan, glass walls on every side, the city spread out below like a universe of stars. Your room is down the hall, Sebastian said, his voice cold and distant. My assistant will deliver your belongings tomorrow. We have a family dinner Friday night. My mother will be watching everything. Sebastian. She stopped him before he could walk away. Why did you really do this? There has to be another way to avoid marrying Victoria. He turned back, shadows playing across his face. Maybe I saw something in you. Something I recognized. What? Someone who's been hurt by the world but keeps fighting anyway. His voice was barely above a whisper. Someone who deserves better than what life has given them. Before she could respond, he disappeared into his bedroom, door closing with quiet finality. Celeste stood alone in the penthouse, her new prison of glass and steel, and wondered what she'd just agreed to. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Enjoy it while it lasts, little waitress. Sebastian Cross always gets bored of his toys. And when he does, I'll be waiting. Victoria." Celeste deleted the message, heart pounding, but the words lingered like poison. She walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows, pressed her hand against the cold glass. Below, the city glittered with promise and threat. She'd married a man she didn't know. A man who'd warned her not to fall in love. A man who was already breaking through her defenses with his wounded eyes and unexpected kindness. This was supposed to be simple, a business transaction, nothing more. But as Celeste stared at her reflection in the glass, wedding ring glinting on her finger, she knew with terrible certainty that nothing about this arrangement would be simple, and the first crack in her armor had already formed. 3 months passed like a fever dream. Celeste learned to navigate high society dinners where every smile was a weapon. She learned to ignore the whispers that followed her everywhere. The articles dissecting her humble background. The social media posts questioning whether she'd trapped Sebastian with a pregnancy or blackmail. She learned to sleep alone in her pristine bedroom, while Sebastian worked until dawn in his home office, the glow of his computer screen visible under his door. Most of all, she learned that the no emotional attachment rule was becoming impossible to follow. It started with small things. The way Sebastian insisted on driving her to the hospital for her mother's treatments, waiting in the lobby with his laptop, never complaining. The way he remembered she took her coffee black with cinnamon. The way his eyes softened when he caught her sketching in the penthouse, lost in her art. The way he'd defended her at every family gathering, his voice turning to ice whenever his mother made a cutting remark about Celeste's background. Tonight's charity gala was different. Celeste wore a silver gown Sebastian had chosen, fabric that flowed like liquid mercury. His fingers had lingered on her bare shoulders as he'd fastened her diamond necklace, his touch burning through her skin. "You look beautiful," he'd said quietly. And for a moment, the business arrangement facade had cracked. Now they moved through the ballroom together, his hand possessive on her lower back. To everyone watching, they were the perfect couple. But Celeste felt the tension crackling between them, growing stronger every day. "I need some air," she said, pulling away from another tedious conversation with board members. "I'll come with you." "No." The word came out sharper than intended. "I need a minute alone." Something flickered in Sebastian's eyes. Hurt, maybe, but he nodded. Celeste escaped to the hotel's rooftop garden, city lights spreading out below, cool night air raising goosebumps on her skin. She leaned against the railing, trying to remember why she was doing this. The money. Her mother. The art studio. The contract. Not because she was falling in love with a man who'd built walls around his heart? Trouble in paradise? Celeste spun around. Victoria Sterling emerged from the shadows, emerald gown glittering like snake scales. "What do you want, Victoria?" "To give you a reality check." Victoria approached slowly, predatory smile in place. "You think this is real? You think Sebastian actually cares about you? Our marriage is none of your business." "Oh, but it is." Victoria pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, held it up. Celeste's blood turned to ice. The screen showed a document. A contract, but not the prenuptial agreement she'd signed. This was different. An agreement between Sebastian and his mother, dated 2 weeks before the gala where they'd met. The terms made Celeste's stomach drop. Sebastian Cross agrees to enter into a temporary marriage arrangement for a period of no less than 1 year to satisfy board requirements for CEO position. Candidate must be from outside social circle to avoid romantic complications. Marriage must appear legitimate to media and board members. Upon dissolution, all parties will maintain confidentiality. Below that, a list of potential candidates. Women from various backgrounds, their photos and profiles detailed like a catalog. Celeste's photo was circled in red. "He chose you weeks before that gala," Victoria said, voice dripping with false sympathy. "The wine incident, the humiliation, his dramatic rescue. It was all planned. You were always just a pawn in his game." "You're lying." "Am I?" Victoria's smile widened. Ask yourself why he was at that specific charity gala, why he had a file on you ready within hours, why everything moved so quickly. Celeste's mind raced, pieces clicking into place. The way he'd known everything about her mother, her dreams, her struggles. The speed of the prenuptial agreement, the immediate wedding. He used me. He used both of us, darling. The difference is, I know how men like Sebastian operate. You actually started to believe the fairy tale. Celeste felt something breaking inside her chest. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand what you're dealing with. Sebastian Cross is incapable of love. His father made sure of that. Victoria's voice turned almost sympathetic. Richard Cross was a monster who taught his son that emotions are weaknesses to be exploited. Sebastian learned the lesson too well. How do you know this? Because I've known Sebastian since we were children. I've watched him destroy every relationship he's ever had rather than risk feeling something real. Victoria stepped closer. You're not special, Celeste. You're just another business transaction. And when the year is up, he'll discard you without a second thought. Before Celeste could respond, the rooftop door burst open. Sebastian stood there, eyes dark with fury. Victoria, get out! I was just leaving. Victoria brushed past him, pausing to whisper something in his ear that made his jaw clench. Then she was gone, leaving Celeste and Sebastian alone under the stars. How much did you hear? Sebastian asked quietly. Enough. Celeste's voice shook with betrayal. Was it true? Did you plan everything? Sebastian's silence was answer enough. Say something. Celeste's composure shattered. Tell me Victoria was lying. Tell me you didn't choose me from a list like I was some kind of product. I can't tell you that. The admission hit like a physical blow. You bastard. Tears burned in her eyes. I thought you saved me that night. I thought despite everything, despite the contract and the rules, there was something real between us. There is something real. Sebastian moved toward her. But she backed away. Don't you dare touch me. Celeste, listen to me. No, you listen to me. Her voice cracked with pain. I broke the rules, Sebastian. I started caring about you. I started thinking maybe you felt something too. God, I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. Then what am I? Your employee? Your business partner? Your perfectly selected temporary wife? Sebastian's hands clenched into fists at his sides. You're right. I did choose you. I had my team compile profiles of women who met specific criteria. Women who needed help, who wouldn't complicate my life, who could play the role convincingly. Each word was another knife to her heart. But I didn't plan what happened at the gala, Sebastian continued, voice raw. I didn't plan the way Victoria humiliated you. I didn't plan the rage I felt watching them tear you apart. And I sure as hell didn't plan what I've been feeling for the past 3 months. Celeste went still. What are you saying? I'm saying the rules are breaking, Celeste. They've been breaking since the moment I put my arm around you. He took a step closer. I'm saying I made a mistake thinking I could keep this purely business. You told me not to fall in love. I told myself the same thing. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. It didn't work, Celeste's breath caught. She wanted to believe him, wanted it so desperately it hurt. How do I know this isn't another manipulation? Another part of your plan? You don't. Sebastian's eyes held hers, and she saw real pain there. You have to decide whether to trust me, whether to take the risk. I can't. The words tore from her throat. I can't risk my heart on someone who sees people as chess pieces. Then what do you want? I want the truth, all of it. No more games, no more manipulation. Everything you've been hiding. Sebastian went pale. You don't want to know those things. Try me. He turned away, shoulders rigid with tension. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. My father died when I was 15, Sebastian said finally, voice hollow. But before that, he spent years teaching me that love was a weapon. He used my mother's love for him to control her, to break her. He had affairs, humiliated her publicly, spent her family's money recklessly, and she stayed because she loved him. Celeste felt her anger cracking, making room for something else. I watched her become a shell of herself. Sebastian continued. I swore I'd never let emotion control me that way. Never let anyone have that power over me. So you built walls. I built a fortress. He turned back to face her. Then you came along with your midnight blue dress and your defiance and your art, and suddenly the fortress didn't feel safe anymore. It felt like a prison. Sebastian. I chose you from that list because you seemed perfect for a business arrangement. But I fell for you because of who you are, the way you fight for the people you love, the way you create beauty even when the world is ugly, the way you see through my walls to the broken person underneath. Celeste's tears spilled over. This is exactly what we agreed wouldn't happen. I know. He closed the distance between them, hands coming up to cup her face. I know I'm breaking the rules. I know I'm risking everything. But Celeste, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of living in a fortress. What are you asking me? His forehead pressed against hers, breath warm on her lips. I'm asking you to take a chance on something real. Not a contract, not a business arrangement. Something terrifying and messy and completely unplanned. And if it destroys us, then at least we'll have lived. His thumb brushed away her tears. Please, give me a chance to do this right. Celeste closed her eyes, feeling the walls around her own heart crumbling. I'm scared. So am I. She opened her eyes, saw his vulnerability laid bare, and made her choice. Okay. Sebastian's exhale shook with relief. He kissed her then, not the business-like press of lips from their wedding day, but something deep and desperate and real. Celeste kissed him back, tasting salt from her tears and promise on his lips. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Sebastian smiled. A real smile, soft and unguarded. We should go back inside before they send a search party. In a minute. Celeste kept her arms wrapped around him. I want to remember this moment. Why? Because this is where everything changes. She was right. But neither of them knew that inside the ballroom, Victoria was already setting the next part of her revenge in motion, and the betrayal that was coming would test whether their fragile new connection could survive. 2 weeks after the rooftop confession, Celeste woke to find Sebastian's side of the bed empty. They'd stopped pretending to need separate bedrooms 5 days ago, and she'd grown used to his warmth beside her. She found him in his office, hunched over his laptop, face illuminated by the harsh blue glow. The clock showed 3:47 a.m. Come back to bed, she said softly. Sebastian looked up, and her stomach dropped at his expression. Something was wrong. We need to talk. Those 4 words sent ice through her veins. She pulled his robe tighter around herself. What happened? The board meeting is tomorrow. They're going to vote on whether to keep me as CEO. His voice was carefully controlled. My mother has been building a coalition against me. Can she do that? If she convinces enough board members that I'm unstable, unreliable, that my sudden marriage was a sign of poor judgment. He stood, crossing to the window. Victoria's been helping her, feeding them information. What kind of information? Sebastian's shoulders tensed. About us, about the contract, about how our marriage started. Celeste's world tilted. How could Victoria know about the contract? We were careful. Someone leaked it. He turned to face her, and she saw real fear in his eyes. If the board sees that document, if they realize our marriage was an arrangement, they'll remove me. Everything I've built will be gone. We'll fight them. We'll prove our marriage is real now. It's not that simple. Sebastian pulled up his email, showed her the screen. The message was from an anonymous sender, but the attachment made Celeste's blood run cold. Photos, dozens of them. Sebastian entering a hotel room with a beautiful redhead. Timestamps from last week when he'd told Celeste he was working late. This isn't what it looks like, Sebastian said immediately. But Celeste barely heard him. More emails filled the screen. Financial records showing payments to the woman in the photos. Text messages that seemed intimate, flirtatious. Tell me you didn't. Her voice sounded far away. I swear to you, this is fabricated. Someone's trying to destroy us. The photos look real, Sebastian. The timestamps match nights when you weren't home, because I was meeting with lawyers trying to find a way to protect us. His voice rose with desperation. Celeste, you have to believe me, but doubt had already poisoned her thoughts. The contract. The manipulation. How well did she really know him? I need air. She turned toward the door. Sebastian caught her arm. Please don't walk away from me. Let go. Not until you hear me out. I said let go. She wrenched free, something breaking in both of them. Celeste grabbed her clothes and left before dawn, ignoring Sebastian's calls behind her. She went to the one place that felt like home, her mother's small apartment in Queens. Elena Rivera was awake, sitting by the window despite the early hour. The cancer treatment had aged her, hollowing her cheeks and thinning her hair. But her eyes were still sharp. Baby, what's wrong? Celeste collapsed into her mother's arms and told her everything. The contract, the lie, the rooftop confession, the photos. Elena listened quietly, then pulled back to look at her daughter's face. Do you love him? I think I do, and that terrifies me. Because he might hurt you? Or because you might have to hurt him? Celeste's breath caught. What do you mean? Elena's expression turned sad. I received a phone call yesterday from Helena Cross, Sebastian's mother. Dread pooled in Celeste's stomach. What did she want? She offered me something. The best cancer treatment money can buy. A full medical team, experimental therapies, everything. She'd cover all costs. That's good, isn't it? In exchange for you leaving Sebastian. For admitting the marriage was fake. For testifying before the board that he manipulated you into a fraudulent arrangement. The room started spinning. She wants me to betray him. She wants to use your love for me as leverage. Elena's voice hardened, just like Richard Cross used to do. That woman learned from the worst. What did you tell her? I told her to go to hell. Elena squeezed Celeste's hands. Baby, I've lived a good life. If this cancer takes me, at least I'll die knowing I didn't teach my daughter to trade her integrity for survival. Mom, don't talk like that. Listen to me. That boy loves you. I can see it in how he looks at you, how he waits in the hospital lobby during my treatments, reading the same magazine over and over because he's too worried to concentrate. But the photos could be fake, could be real. But do you know what's real? Elena touched Celeste's heart. What you feel in here, trust that. Before Celeste could respond, her phone erupted with notifications. News alerts, social media mentions. Her hands shook as she opened them. The photos had been leaked to the press. Headlines screamed, Sebastian Cross's wife, devastated by affair. Billionaire's marriage exposed as fraud. From Cinderella to discarded. But worse than the photos was the accompanying statement, supposedly from Celeste herself, detailing the contract and claiming Sebastian had emotionally abused her. I didn't write this, Celeste whispered. Her phone rang. Sebastian. Don't believe anything you see, he said immediately. Someone's hacking our accounts, our emails, everything. Victoria and my mother. They're working together. His voice was ragged. Celeste, I need you to come to the emergency board meeting. I need you to tell them the truth. Which truth? That our marriage started as a lie. That'll just prove their point. The truth that it's real now. That we chose each other. Through her mother's window, Celeste could see reporters gathering on the street below. Her phone buzzed with messages from unknown numbers, some offering money for her story, others hurling vicious insults. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. I'm not asking you to lie for me. I'm asking you to fight for us. Sebastian's voice cracked. If you ever meant what you said on that rooftop, if any of this was real for you, please, come to the meeting. Celeste looked at her mother, who nodded encouragement. Where and when? Cross Technologies. Noon. I'll send a car. No, I'll make my own way. She paused. Sebastian, I need to know something. Those photos, that woman. Tell me the truth, even if it destroys us. Were you with her? The silence stretched too long. Her name is Catherine Reed. She's a forensic accountant. Sebastian's voice was hollow. I hired her to investigate my mother's finances. I suspected she was embezzling from the company to fund her campaign against me. Catherine found proof, but we needed to keep our meeting secret. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was trying to protect you. If my mother knew you had that information, she'd come after you. His laugh was bitter. Turns out she came after you anyway. Sebastian, I should have trusted you with the truth. I should have learned my lesson about secrets and manipulation, but old habits die hard. Celeste closed her eyes. feeling the weight of impossible choices. I'll be there at noon. But after this, no more secrets, ever, I promise. If we survive this... She ended the call and turned to her mother. I have to go testify. I know, baby. Even if it means losing the money for your treatment. Even if Helena Cross destroys us. Elena smiled, proud and fierce. That's my daughter, the girl who chose integrity over survival. But as Celeste prepared for the board meeting, she had no idea that the real betrayal was still to come, and it would force her to make a sacrifice that would change everything. The boardroom of Cross Technologies was all glass and steel and cold corporate power. 20 board members sat around a massive table, Helena Cross at the head like a queen on a throne. Victoria sat beside her, smile sharp as knives. Sebastian sat alone on the other side, looking exhausted and defiant. Celeste entered, and every eye turned to her. She felt naked under their scrutiny, these people who'd already judged her and found her wanting. Mrs. Cross, Helena's voice dripped with false warmth. How kind of you to join us. I'm here to tell the truth, Celeste said steadily, as are we all. Helena pulled out a document. The contract. This is your prenuptial agreement, detailing a 1-year business arrangement with my son. Would you care to explain how this represents a legitimate marriage? Celeste's hands clenched. That contract represents how our marriage started, not what it became. Convenient. Victoria leaned forward. Tell me, Mrs. Cross, when exactly did this business arrangement become real? Before or after you started falling for Sebastian's money? Careful, Victoria, Sebastian warned. No, let her speak, Celeste said. Because I want everyone here to understand something. Yes, our marriage started as an arrangement. Sebastian needed a wife to satisfy board requirements. I needed money for my mother's medical treatment. It was transactional and cold, and exactly the kind of thing people in this room do every day. Murmurs rippled around the table. But somewhere between the contract and now, something changed. I fell in love with a man who spent years building walls around his heart, because this family taught him that love was weakness. Helena's expression darkened. You will not speak about matters you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Celeste's voice rang out clear and strong. I understand that Richard Cross was an abusive monster who destroyed everyone around him. I understand that you stayed with him because you were afraid, and that fear turned into bitterness. I understand that you're trying to control Sebastian the same way Richard controlled you. The silence was absolute. How dare you? Helena breathed. How dare I tell the truth, the same way I'm going to tell the truth about your embezzlement. Celeste pulled out her own document, the evidence Catherine Reed had compiled. Sebastian's eyes widened in shock. Catherine Reed gave me a copy before she disappeared. Celeste lied smoothly. Insurance, she called it. $20 million siphoned from company accounts over 5 years. Payments to offshore accounts. False invoices. All traced back to you, Helena. The board erupted in chaos. Helena's face went white, then purple with rage. This is fabricated. Another of Sebastian's manipulations. Then let's bring in the authorities and find out. Celeste met Helena's furious gaze. Or we can make a deal. You drop your campaign against Sebastian, return the money, and quietly resign from the board. In exchange, we don't press charges. You can't do this, Victoria hissed. I already have. Celeste turned to the board members. Sebastian Cross has spent 5 years building this company into an empire. He's increased your stock values by 300%. He's created thousands of jobs. And yes, he married me in an unorthodox way. But he's also the best CEO this company will ever have. She looked at Sebastian, saw love and pride shining in his eyes. Our marriage might have started as a contract, but it's real now. Real enough that I'm willing to give up everything to protect it. The chairman of the board cleared his throat. Mrs. Cross, these are serious allegations against Helena. Then investigate them. But until you do, I suggest you vote to keep Sebastian as CEO. Otherwise, I'll take this evidence to the SEC, the press, and every regulatory agency I can find. Helena stood abruptly. You'll regret this. You little nobody? Maybe. Celeste's voice didn't waver. But at least I'll regret it with my integrity intact. The vote was called. When the results came in, Sebastian had won by a narrow margin. Helena stormed out, Victoria following in her wake. But as the board members filed out, Celeste felt Sebastian's hand on her arm. "What you just did," he said quietly. "That evidence Catherine gave you. She never gave you anything, did she?" Celeste met his eyes. "No," I bluffed. "The file I showed was blank papers in an official folder." Sebastian stared at her, then started laughing. Real laughter, shocked and delighted. "You magnificent woman. You just threatened the board with no evidence at all. I learned from the best." She touched his face. "No more secrets, remember? That includes protecting me from your mother. We're in this together now." "Together," Sebastian echoed, pulling her close, but as they stood there, neither of them noticed Victoria watching from the doorway, phone in hand, a new plan already forming. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. 3 days after the board meeting, Celeste's mother collapsed. The call came at 2 a.m. Elena's neighbor had found her unconscious on the kitchen floor. By the time Celeste reached the hospital, her mother was in intensive care, machines breathing for her, monitors tracking her failing systems. "The cancer has spread to her brain," the doctor said gently. "I'm sorry. Without immediate aggressive treatment, she has perhaps 2 weeks. With treatment, maybe 6 months. Then start treatment immediately." The doctor's expression turned uncomfortable. "The treatment we're discussing costs approximately $500,000. Your insurance won't cover experimental therapies, and given the complexity of her case, money isn't an issue." Sebastian appeared beside Celeste, his hand finding hers. "Whatever she needs, cost is irrelevant." But the doctor shook his head. "It's not about cost, Mr. Cross. There's only one facility in the country equipped for this particular treatment protocol. The Kensington Center in Boston, and they have a 6-month waiting list." Celeste felt the world crumbling. There has to be something. "Actually," a new voice cut in. Victoria stepped from the shadows, looking almost sympathetic. "There is one option." "What are you doing here?" Sebastian's voice was ice. "Helena sent me. She has a proposition." Celeste's stomach turned. "She wants me to testify that the embezzlement evidence was fabricated," she said flatly. "Yes. In exchange, Helena will use her connections to get your mother into Kensington immediately. Top of the waiting list. Full treatment, best doctors, everything." Victoria pulled out a document. "All you have to do is sign this statement admitting you lied to the board, which would destroy Sebastian's reputation and give Helena grounds to remove him as CEO. Sebastian finished. "Get out, Victoria." But Celeste was staring at the document, then at her mother's unconscious form. "What happens to Sebastian if I sign?" "Celeste, no." Sebastian's voice cracked with panic. "The board will vote again," Victoria said. "This time, with evidence that Sebastian used his wife to threaten and manipulate them, he'll lose. Helena becomes CEO. Sebastian loses everything. But my mother lives. Your mother has a chance to live." Victoria's voice was surprisingly gentle. "I know what you're thinking. That Helena is a monster using your mother as leverage. You're right. But she's also the only one who can save Elena Rivera." Celeste looked at Sebastian, saw his expression breaking. "Don't do this," he whispered. "Please, we'll find another way." "There is no other way." Celeste felt tears streaming down her face. "You know there isn't. I don't care about the company. I don't care about being CEO. I care about you, about us. And I care about my mother." Celeste touched his face, memorizing every line. "She's the only family I have. The only person who loved me before I had anything to offer. I love you." The words hung between them, the first time he'd said them directly. "I know." Celeste's voice broke. "I love you too. That's why I have to do this." "No. There's always another choice. Not this time." She turned to Victoria. "If I sign, you guarantee my mother gets treatment immediately?" "Helena's already made the arrangements. Your mother can be transferred to Kensington tonight." Celeste reached for the document with shaking hands. Sebastian caught her wrist. "I'm begging you. Don't sacrifice us for this." "Sebastian, listen to me." Celeste forced him to meet her eyes. "You told me your father taught you that love was a weapon, but you were wrong. Love isn't a weapon. It's a choice. And right now, I'm choosing to love my mother more than I fear losing you." That's not how love works. You don't have to choose. Yes, I do. Because that's what love is. Sacrifice. Putting someone else's life before your own happiness. She pressed her forehead to his. If our positions were reversed, you'd do the same thing. I wouldn't. You're lying. She smiled through her tears. You'd burn the world down to save the people you love. I've seen it. Sebastian's composure shattered. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear. I can't lose you, he whispered against her hair. You're not losing me. You're setting me free to save my mother. There's a difference. I don't accept that difference. You have to. Celeste pulled back, took the document from Victoria, and signed her name. The pen felt like a knife severing everything they'd built. It's done, she said quietly. Sebastian stared at the signed document, then at her, something dying in his eyes. You just destroyed me. I saved my mother. They're not mutually exclusive. His voice rose with anguish. We could have found another way. In 6 months? While she dies? Celeste shook her head. I made my choice. Now you have to make yours. Hate me for it if you need to. But let me save her. She walked past him, past Victoria's triumphant expression, back to her mother's bedside. Within hours, Elna was transferred to Kensington. The doctors were optimistic. The treatment was already showing promise. Within days, the board had voted again. Sebastian was removed as CEO. Helena took his place. Within a week, divorce papers arrived at the penthouse. Celeste signed them without reading, her hands numb. The marriage had lasted 6 months, half the contracted year, but it felt like a lifetime compressed into moments. She moved back to Queens, back to her small apartment, back to teaching art to children who still saw beauty in the world. Sebastian didn't contact her. She told herself she was glad she was lying. 2 months passed. Elena's treatment was working. She was getting stronger, hair growing back, color returning to her cheeks. The doctors called it miraculous. Celeste called it the most expensive miracle she'd ever bought. She was in the community center, teaching a painting class when one of the children tugged her sleeve. Miss Celeste, there's a man here to see you. Sebastian stood in the doorway, looking haggard and beautiful. He'd lost weight, his face sharper, eyes hollow. But when he saw her, something flickered to life. Can we talk? He asked. Celeste's heart hammered against her ribs. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. 5 minutes. She shouldn't. She should send him away. Protect what was left of her broken heart. But she'd never been good at staying safe. They walked to a nearby park, autumn leaves crunching under their feet. For a long moment, neither spoke. Your mother's doing better, Sebastian said finally. I've been getting updates. You've been checking on her? I've been checking on both of you. From a distance. He stopped walking, turned to face her. I've been trying to hate you for what you did. For choosing her over us. Have you succeeded? No, because I finally understood something. His voice was raw. You didn't choose her over us. You chose love over fear. You proved that love isn't a weapon or a weakness. It's the strongest thing we have. Celeste felt tears burning. Sebastian. I spent my whole life building walls to keep people out. Then you came along and knocked them all down. And when you signed those papers, when you sacrificed everything for your mother, you taught me what real love looks like. Not the poisoned version my father showed me. The real thing. Why are you telling me this? Sebastian reached into his jacket and pulled out a document. Not divorce papers. Something else. This is the deed to a building in Manhattan. 5,000 square feet. Perfect for an art studio and community center. He held it out to her. It's yours. No strings, no contracts, no conditions. Celeste stared at the deed, then at him. I don't understand. You're giving me the studio. I'm giving you your dream. The one you sacrificed when you saved your mother. The one you gave up when you signed those papers. His voice cracked. I can't give you back the 6 months we lost. I can't undo the pain. But I can give you this. Why? Because I love you. Because you taught me that love means putting someone else's dreams before your own happiness. Because you deserve every beautiful thing this world has to offer. Celeste took the deed with trembling hands. The divorce papers. I never filed them. Sebastian stepped closer. I couldn't, because I'm still in love with you, Celeste. I never stopped. I never will, even after what I did, especially because of what you did. You showed me what it means to love someone more than you fear being hurt. You showed me that sacrifice isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing we can do. Celeste felt something breaking open in her chest, all the pain and love and loss pouring out. I don't know if we can go back to what we had. We can't, Sebastian agreed. But maybe we can build something better, something real from the start. No contracts, no arrangements, no rules about falling in love. What are you asking me? He took her hands, and she felt the warmth she'd missed for 2 months. I'm asking you to give us another chance, not as business partners or temporary spouses, as two people who love each other and are willing to fight for that love, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Celeste looked at the deed, then at Sebastian's hopeful, terrified expression. What about your company? Your position? I started a new company. Smaller, but mine. Turns out I don't need my mother's empire. I just need a reason to build something worth having. His voice dropped to a whisper. You're my reason, Celeste. You've always been my reason. She thought of everything they'd been through. The humiliation, the contract, the lies, the betrayal. The rooftop confession, the board meeting, the impossible choice. She thought of her mother, alive and healing because of that choice. She thought of the children in her art class, who would have a real studio now, a place to create beauty and hope. Most of all, she thought of Sebastian's eyes when he'd said he loved her. The way he'd held her like she was precious. The way he'd let her go when she needed to save her mother. That was love. The real thing. Messy and painful and worth every sacrifice. Yes, she said quietly. Sebastian's expression transformed, hope blazing to life. Yes? Yes, but on one condition. Anything. No more secrets. No more protection. We face everything together, even when it's ugly, even when it hurts. Together, Sebastian agreed. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like she might break. Celeste kissed him back, tasting salt and promise and second chances. When they pulled apart, Sebastian rested his forehead against hers. I have something else for you. The studio wasn't enough. He pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple gold band, no diamonds, no elaborate design. This isn't from a contract or an arrangement. This is me asking you to marry me. Really marry me. Because I choose you, Celeste Rivera. Every day, every moment, for the rest of my life. Celeste looked at the ring, then at the man who'd saved her from humiliation, taught her about sacrifice, and learned to love despite his scars. Yes, she said again. Sebastian slipped the ring onto her finger, and this time, it felt right. No prenuptial agreements, no business clauses, no rules about falling in love. Just two people choosing each other despite the odds. 6 months later, Celeste stood in her new art studio, watching children paint murals on the walls. Elena was there, cancer in remission, laughing with the other volunteers. Sebastian arrived with coffee, kissing Celeste's temple as he handed her a cup. Happy? He asked. She looked around at the studio she'd dreamed of, at her mother healthy and whole, at the man who'd learned to love without fear. Terrified, she admitted. But yes, happy. Good. Sebastian pulled her close. Because this is just the beginning. Through the studio windows, Manhattan glittered with possibility. Somewhere out there, Victoria was probably plotting revenge. Helena was probably scheming to reclaim her power. The world was still full of people who wanted to tear them down, but Celeste had learned something important. Love wasn't about avoiding pain or building walls. It was about choosing someone every day, even when it was hard. It was about sacrifice and second chances and believing in something bigger than fear. She'd started as a waitress in a wine-stained dress, being mocked by people who'd never know struggle. She'd become a wife in a contract, a pawn in someone else's game, but she'd ended as herself. Celeste Cross, artist, dreamer, fighter, woman who'd chosen love over fear and found that love chose her back. Sebastian's arms tightened around her. No regrets? He asked. Celeste thought of everything they'd survived, every painful moment that had led them here. Not a single one, Because in the end, the story wasn't about a billionaire rescuing a waitress. It was about two broken people learning that sometimes the greatest love stories begin with the smallest acts of courage. It was about choosing to fall, even knowing you might break. It was about learning that sacrifice doesn't diminish love. It makes it real. And it was about discovering that happy endings aren't given. They're built day by day, choice by choice, by people brave enough to try. Celeste looked at Sebastian, at her mother, at the studio full of children creating beauty from nothing. This was her happy ending. Hard-won, imperfect, and absolutely real, and it was only just beginning. The end.